We're almost ready to start the commercials. My name is Jenny Grassel. I'm the director here at the Delmont Library. So thank you so much for coming tonight. We are honored and humbled to have such experts tonight with this program. Sally Lipsky was the founder, and I know she works with Dr. Greenberg here and Brittany. These ladies know their stuff inside and out. And one of the reasons that we were so excited about this is because in our outdoor learning center, which you should definitely go out and see afterwards, go out the door and hit a right. We have a grow your own pizza garden this summer where we are planting heirloom tomatoes. We're planting, Pamela, you're on. We're planting.
We planted chocolate cherry, sweet million cherries,
Ooh.
yellow
Ah.
and then a big variety of black prim and yellow tomatoes and brown.
So how fun for the
and
kids, right? The kids are gonna see this, and every week they adopted a tomato plant. We put their name on them, like the Antonucci family. We send them a little letter that says, "Dear Antonucci family, thanks for adopting. Your job is to weed and to water and learn about your tomato and blah, 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 blah." So they're learning outside our library. They're doing hands-on extended learning opportunities. We are just thrilled about this and having this opportunity. So without further ado, would you please welcome Sally?
Especially since I'm not going to do anything today except well. The two people who like to cook and do it so well. Okay, I'm Sally Lipsky with Plant-Based Pittsburgh, and I am delighted to have Linda Jones here, our two expert cooks, and not only do they cook well, but they display well too. So you'll get some taste, and Brittany Giroudi. So both of them will be demonstrating, talking a little bit. We'll have some discussion. The recipes that you have, everybody, we have a whole contingent online. So, oh yeah, we have 14 in the waiting room. Also, we'll have a lot online. So they will be joining in, watching this. Unfortunately, they won't get to taste, but tomorrow, everybody will get an email with a copy of the recipes, the ones talked about today, some additional tomato recipes, as well as a link to the recording, so that if you want to rewatch, share, whatever, it's on our YouTube channel. So as the sign-in went around, if you want to make sure, if you want that email tomorrow, I need your email address. Okay, if you're not already, there. Okay.
Your YouTube channel also has a lot of other.
Lots. We've done 1 or 2 a month since COVID started, okay? And we have lots of cooking demos. We have some physicians giving, some gardening, we have a variety. I did a reading labels 1 month. So we try to juggle. Our aim in Plant-Based Pittsburgh, we're very small, all volunteer nonprofit. And our goal is to educate and support people about the benefits, the myriad health benefits of plant-centered eating. So that's our mission, and it really is a pleasure to be here with you all in this gorgeous facility.
And you meet regularly at Murraysville Library?
We meet at Murraysville Library. That's our regular Saturday afternoon. We're taking July off. We all need vacation. So you'll see in the email that I send out, but we will start up again in August. We have that one's going to be totally Zoom. Somebody who travels a lot, Kathy Davis, is going to rejoin us from out west. Her and her husband live in an RV. It's amazing. Yeah, she's done 3 cookbooks. And then we start, and then we'll go back to the library, and you can do Zoom. Predominantly these days, most of our people our Zoom, but we also with everybody. It's a different energy when you're in person, and plus you get to taste. We're demonstrating. Yeah, that's a nice benefit. Yeah.
The other thing about Sally and Susan and Brittany is they are very willing to share their knowledge. They don't keep it close to
Oh
the
my
vest.
gosh.
So anytime you are willing to, if you have a question, email any of them, and they will share whatever they have with you. So they're very, very
Oh, yes,
accessible.
go on Plant-Based Pittsburgh.
Very
There's our
accessible.
cards here. Go plantbasedpittsburgh.com. There, we have tons of recipes. We have resources, like if you want workbooks or websites to go to. We have links every month to our events, and newsletters. We have a monthly newsletter, so subscribe
I
and you'll
read
get
it.
it.
Yeah.
You will get it. Okay.
Thank you.
So without any further ado, I do want to also say, besides Susan Greenberg, Nedra, you want to raise your hand? We have our board members here. So we have to give recognition for all their hard
We
work.
have our board members here too.
I figured that, yeah, I saw that, okay. Linda Jones and of course Brittany. Okay, I'll hand it over to the cooks. Okay.
So I have a watermelon, it's watermelon, cherries, tomatoes, and beet salad. And it's gonna sound a little funny, but it all works together well. This is actually the way that I love tomatoes, and that's our caveat for tonight, but this is actually the way that I started to eat beets. Beets are something that I've struggled with. I know a couple people feel the same way out there. So, you know, watermelons and cherries, and for me, tomatoes, I could eat like candy, like cherry tomatoes. But this is a really great way of sneaking in some beets, and it's a beautiful, vibrant color, and it's super easy to remember. So I call this my 4-3-2-1 salad. And I made it a little bit smaller tonight because I wasn't sure how many people we were gonna get. But it's 4 cups of watermelon usually. So I just diced up some watermelon. I found my little 4th of July. Right. And then it's 3 cups of chopped cherries that you've pitted. It can be any cherry variety you like. It's 2 cups of beets that are cooked and cooled and sliced. And sometimes you can even find them pre-cooked to make it even easier. You don't want to do it from scratch. And then it's 1 cup of cherry tomatoes chopped. So really simple and easy. So I did this at home so it wouldn't be a huge mess in the library right before we came. And you're going to be surprised how well it all melts together. And then I usually like to go into the garden at this time. If you have fresh mint, you guys don't have any fresh mint here, do you? Could have picked some before in the so pick some fresh mint, or sometimes even in a pinch, if I don't have fresh mint, basil is really nice to give us more of a savory taste. And then sometimes I add lime juice, sometimes I add lemon juice, sometimes I add white balsamic vinaigrette to this, just for a different spin. So it never really gets, you know, boring. And then that's it. It's like so easy. It always goes at any holiday function. Bring it to a cookout. You can feel really good about eating it. It's vibrantly red. And we know that tomatoes are so good for us. And this is just a great way of blending it into something you might not have traditionally cooked. So I'm just gonna give it a nice toss. And then once we start serving, I'll dish it out for you guys to try, but you'll be very pleasantly surprised if there's something in here that you don't like, how well it's also hidden with all of those things like watermelon and cherries that we're usually fans of. So don't be shy if you get a beet. I promise it works together. And this has been a huge way of me getting in, you know, foods that I might have not enjoyed before. So it just turns out so beautiful. And then you could chop up some, you know, mint for some green poppage and really make it a showstopper at your next holiday get together.
I'm going to give it to.
Oh, you want to take a picture?
Oh,
Yeah, so good.
Oh,
Thank you.
we're documenting for the newspaper too.
Oh, yeah.
Look at this, online folks. It's sparkling, it's gorgeous. Yeah. And I'm sure it's delicious.
Oh, wonderful.
So I am very happy to be here. This library is kind of like a comfortable, cozy, friendly library to me when I enter. I've only been here a few times, but I get that vibe. Plus, it's cool because when I left my house this afternoon, it was 85 degrees. We had no air conditioning. So I'm really, really happy to be here. Several reasons why. And the other good news is that I did my preparation this morning before we lost electricity. So everything's made. So you probably know that the tomatoes suffer from an identity crisis. Are they a fruit or are they a vegetable? The botanists call them fruits, but nutritionists call them vegetables because of the nutrients. But I was thinking about this and I found out it happens to be true. Tomatoes are the most popular vegetable in the world. Isn't that amazing? And they can be black, they can be white, they can be pink, they can be yellow, and they can be purple. They also are thought to have come from the country of Peru originally. So this is kind of interesting. Heinz tomato ketchup factory has a speed limit. When they're making sauces and the ketchup, the speed limit is 0.028 miles per hour. And if the ketchup flows any faster than that, it's considered too runny and they reject it. Isn't that funny? In Ohio, they have made tomato juice. The state of Ohio has made tomato juice their official state drink. And I seem to think this wasn't in the notes, but I seem to think that there might be some vodka in that. Yeah, that they're maybe not telling us. So before we get started, I have two jokes. These are kind of cute, so I wanted to make everybody laugh. The best way to punish lazy and careless tomato employees from the office is to can them. And last but not least, a cabbage, a tomato, and a nose were racing each other. The cabbage was ahead, the nose was running, and the tomato was trying to catch up. All right, let's get some food going on here. I'm going to demonstrate a salad to you, which I thought would be good. It's bulgur, tomato, and cucumber. You don't have to turn your oven on, so it's a good summer salad. And bulgur is a very easy grain to make, a whole grain. It's a lot of fiber. So you boil water, 3 cups for this recipe, boil 3 cups of water. Add the bulgur that has been rinsed and drained. I do that. Take it off the stove, put the bulgur into the hot water, put a tight fitting lid on and wait 15 minutes or so. And it'll be done. So you don't need the oven in it. It cooks up pretty quickly. Now I've made this several times. After 15 minutes, I have to drain my bulgur. It doesn't absorb all the water, which is okay, but there's just a little bit. You don't want excess water in the salad. So make sure if you have excess water that you drain it. So the first thing we do is we'll put this is bulgur. Now, got the bulgur in.
What is that? Hey, stop it.
Next are tomatoes. I've used cherry tomatoes and cucumbers go in next. Sometime I haven't had cucumber, so I've used zucchini. That works too. So that's going to go in next. And each step it gets more colorful and more colorful. Then we have onions. This is funny, just struck me. As I was getting ready to come here, and I had a time when I opened the refrigerator because we had no electricity. So I'm thinking, now where are the green onions and where's the bulgur and where are the tomatoes? So I opened up the fridge and I'm going, it's dark in the fridge. I forgot that it was and I panicked and oh, it was funny. Green onions. Now, when I make salads, just because I'm whole food plant-based, I always ramp up the vegetables. So I think the original recipe said 1 cup of cherry tomatoes. I do 1/2 or, 1 cup. They said 1 cup, I do 1.5 or 2 cups. I think the celery or the cucumber was 1 medium cucumber, I go a little bit more. So there's a higher ratio of vegetables to bulgur. So. Then we have lemon juice. Put that on. This is really a similar taste to tabbouleh.
Yes.
It's a Mideastern salad, the lemon and the cucumber. Okay, that's the lemon juice that went in. We stir it. Basically, the notes say that you can just do a dump salad, but I kind of like to do first the bulgur, the vegetables, put in the lemon juice, and then we'll do red wine vinegar. So red wine vinegar and lemon are basically the ingredients for the dressing with some other seasonings. There goes the red wine vinegar. Then I kind of call these the garnish. There's red pepper flakes, and you can do less or more, depends upon, you know, how spicy you want it to be. So we'll put some red pepper flakes on.
Linda, somebody wants to know, you said 3/4 cup water with how much bulgur?
3 cups of water to 1.5 cups bulgur.
3 cups water, 1.5 cup
Right.
bulgur. Yeah, so twice as much
Okay.
water.
So then we have lemon zest. Because you have 2 lemons, so you juice the lemons and you also zest them. And I like to put that on last, so it looks pretty, you know, it looks like a garnish. It really isn't a garnish, but it kind of appears that way. It's an important part of the dressing. To me, this is a mild dressing. It's not a strong dressing. If you have a favorite salad dressing, by all means, just don't use the vinegar and the lemon juice and use your own dressing. You can do that. I tend to like a little sweeter dressings. So I've put in a sweeter type dressing on this before. So it's really, you can probably even switch out the grains. You could probably do quinoa instead of bulgur, but I like the bulgur. You know, the bulgur, as the bulgur is sitting, I can be chopping and doing everything else. So it comes together pretty quickly. Okay, there's our, and I think the most flavorful part of this, unusual, it's not a herb that I use a lot, is tarragon. So we need about 1/4 cup of tarragon. That gets sprinkled on and incorporated. It's best to refrigerate this for at least an hour before you serve it. So I brought samples for us that I made earlier. So you'll be tasting these. It gives the flavors a chance to meld together. I mean, this would be fine as it is, but.
Fresh tarragon, someone said, correct?
Yes, this is fresh tarragon. I have used dry in the past, but fresh is preferable. But you can use dry. Okay, makes quite a bit. I think this same recipe made about 30 of those little cups. Go. It's a nice size. Now, if you want, you could also use this filling, stuff a tomato, a beefsteak tomato, and put that in the middle. That would be very good.
Yum.
So that's the bulgur. Oh. Okay, so also, this is a sample of how my house looks when I cook. Look at this. If they gave us a bigger table, the bigger table would be covered. I apologize. I'm a little messy. The roasted tomato focaccia. So this recipe started out with Brittany's pizza crust recipe, which is a quinoa crust. This crust is so good and it goes together so fast, you'll love it. And I think her recipe is just 1 1/4, mine's a little different, 1 1/4 cup dry quinoa, 1 cup water, and 2 tablespoons pizza seasoning. Throw it in a blender, blend it all up, and that's her pizza crust. Well, for this, my recipe is just a slightly different. I increased the quinoa to 1 1/2 cups, and I used white quinoa. I've used the tricolor, either one works. The tricolor quinoa, if you use, the crust will get a little dark. It's the same, it's fine. And I always rinse and drain my quinoa before I use it. So that 1 1/2 cups of dry quinoa gets rinsed and drained. Quinoa gets put into the blender. 1 cup of water, 2 tablespoons pizza seasoning, and then I added a tablespoon onion powder, tablespoon garlic powder, and 1/2 tablespoon nutritional yeast. That gets put into the blender and blended up for the crust. A day or two before, you can roast your tomatoes. I've used cherry tomatoes. I think these are plum tomatoes. And I clean the tomatoes, cut them in half, put them in a baggie with some balsamic vinegar and water. Nothing fancy, nothing special, just to give them a little additional taste. And I'm going to sprinkle some basil in with the bag and let them marinate for a few hours. It doesn't have to be a long time, just to coat them and get them more moist. Then, so the crust is ready. I put the crust on a fairly large sheet. What did I say? 14 by 20. Now, Brittany's recipe, her pizza crust recipe makes 2. You say 2 pizza crusts. This one that I made today is a 14 by 20. So it's a big sheet pan. So I put the crust out after I put it in the blender. And it's pretty sticky, but you can pat it down. I sprinkled some additional basil just for color on it. And then I layered or drained the tomatoes, the balsamic vinegar soaked tomatoes, laid that on top of the crust and baked it at 400 degrees for 15 minutes. You know what, let me back up a minute. I mentioned I roasted the tomatoes. So after you soak them in the balsamic and the water, you have to roast them in the oven. So I did that a day or two before this. Then I made the quinoa crust this morning, put the quinoa crust on a pan, put the tomatoes that had been roasted already on the crust and baked the whole thing together. And this is how it turned out. It's pretty flavorful. So it's like a 2-step process. You roast your tomatoes a day or two before, you make your crust, put the tomatoes on, and then bake the whole thing. So, let's see. I mentioned the stuffed tomatoes before, and this stuffing, the filling, is from Forks Over Knives cookbook. It is the best ever, really. If I would have had more time to do prep work, I would have brought this sample because it's amazing. It starts out with pesto. Their recipe adds open tofu in the pesto. I don't think it changes the taste much, but it gives it a nice soft taste, feel in your mouth. But I've made pesto all the time for years, and I don't put tofu in it. I just use basil. I use walnuts because pine nuts are hard to find and they're expensive. Cloves of garlic, lemon juice, and a little bit of nutritional yeast for the cheesy flavor. And that's my pesto. And I make it in large quantities and I put it in ice cube trays, put it in my freezer. After it's frozen, I pop those cubes out, pesto cubes, and put them in a Ziploc bag. And they're in my freezer. So anytime I want to make this tomato stuffing, or you come home late at night, you want a quick dinner, I boil some pasta and throw some pesto cubes on top. So it's a nice recipe to have. But this filling is the pesto, 2 cans of navy beans, rinsed and drained, a can of artichoke hearts that are in water that you drain and rough chop them, and half of a yellow onion, medium yellow onion chop. That's all it is. Mix that together with the pesto and put that into your beefsteak tomato. It's delicious. I mean, it's hard to tell on the paper, but I put this filling is fabulous, really good. In fact, you don't even need the tomato. You can just use it as a salad and eat it. It is that good. And I've made it with the tofu, but I don't think the tofu, do you think the tofu provides that much taste? I don't think so. So you don't have to use the tofu, but it's a really good filling. And then my last tomato recipe is skillet lasagna. I think when my kids were growing up, there was a boxed mix called skillet lasagna. I remember it. All you had to do was buy some ground meat, right? Wasn't that it? When you threw the ground meat in and the package had the seasonings and the sauces and you were good to go, and the pasta. So this caught my eye because it was called skillet lasagna, but it's from One Green Planet. And it's very good. It uses 3 cans of diced or crushed tomatoes. I think the total is like 45 ounces. So you can use, when I made it most recently, I used roasted tomatoes in a can. I used some diced tomatoes. I had some tomato puree in the, or tomato paste that I had in my freezer that I wanted to get rid of. So I just made sure I had like around 45 ounces or so. And that makes the sauce. It's very flavorful. And it's really like a 1-pot meal. The pasta, I've made it both times with the no-bake pasta and also the regular pasta. If you use the regular pasta, I parboiled it like 5 minutes, and it doesn't matter if it sticks together in the pot. You don't have to care about that because you drain it out and just break up those pieces anyway. So everything basically gets put in a pot. You just have to, the lentils, they say red lentils, but I've used other lentils before. I think they said red lentils because they're softer and they cook up quicker. But I've used regular lentils before. Rinse them and drain them. You have to watch those, that there's enough liquid in your sauce pot, and you may have to add a little more broth or a little bit more water to make sure those lentils are able to cook, because the lentils will absorb the water, the liquid, and also the lasagna noodles will absorb some of the water and the liquid. So you don't want it to burn on the bottom. So, stir it around, check it a few times. But everything basically, the red pepper flakes, the veggie broth, the oregano, the thyme, cannellini beans that are rinsed and drained, and noodles just get put in a pot and you stir it, put a top on, and check it a few times and you're good to go. That's your skillet lasagna. I'm sure you can use, instead of canned, I'm sure you can use fresh tomatoes too. Just check the liquid to make sure there's enough there. So anybody have any questions?
Are tomatoes more nutritious raw or cooked?
I think cooked. The lycopene, it's got to do with the lycopene.
Yeah, cooked. It's one of those veggies or fruits, however you want to call it, that the lycopene, that the red is released more in the cooking.
Everything is relative though.
Oh, yeah, yeah, of course. Yes, it's just,
I just bought nooch and tofu, and I didn't know what I was going to do with it.
Well, that's good. They say that nutritional yeast is the vegan crack.
I think I
People
tried
just,
it on kale chip, like I was dino kale that will never die in my backyard, and I can't even touch the kale without the nooch. I don't even- It's not the same.
people love it. Yeah, it gives that little cheesy flavor taste.
Walmart.
Oh, does Walmart have it
They do
really?
now, yeah, they
That's-
did used to, the
that's
Bragg
interesting.
brand they have, but like Giant Eagle has like more than one, they have the like red star in the pouch and
Oh,
the
okay.
shaker.
I keep mine in the fridge. Do you keep yours refrigerated?
Sometimes.
I don't,
not.
I've never
Oh, I just
refrigerated.
I refrigerate it.
She
I think
does.
that's the thing. Oh.
I either refrigerate or freeze everything. It's just.
Because I
It's just
figure
who
it's
I
a
am.
processed food and it's, yeah,
You're right. I'm sure I'm wrong.
no.
I just recently upgraded my storage, so now I have more room.
Yeah, now
First
you
of all, I
have,
have to say, you have to be impressed that Brittany found this container in this tray.
Ugh.
She just moved like 2 weeks ago and probably is gonna be living out of boxes for the next 6 months, and she was able to find
It's
an
true,
appropriate
it's true.
dish that went with this, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Brittany's the real deal.
Do you want to pass out some samples? Do you guys want to have some samples now?
Well, if you, I'm sure.
Here's some napkins.
Pass out.
People online, any questions for you? And yes, somebody wrote it. You will be getting recipes and the link to this demonstration tomorrow.
Salad is a
And
little
then-
somewhere.
Oh, here they go.
So if there aren't any questions, yeah, I did clean, yeah.
She wants those for that, I think.
Yeah.
Do we have utensils, like spoons?
Yeah, I have a spoon. Wait, I use this. Here. I hope we have enough.
Okay. Somebody just coming,
Yeah, we have enough.
and we will, thank you. Thank you all. Yes. It was great having you, and, start growing your tomatoes, going to the farmers or whatever. It was wonderful.
Oh, did I forget about the garlic? What, I already used this.
No, it doesn't matter.
Use one of these.
For those who just came in, yes, which was so nice. It was only a little over a half hour. So thank you.
You want anything?